Hey, folks, I am blonde in the belly of the beast, Rebecca. You know that because you're on my channel. And today I have Red Ice with me, which is such a treat. I've done interviews on your channel before. And oh, my own voice. I have this playing. Sorry, let me turn this off. So it's so great to have you on my channel. So welcome. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Good to be here, of course.
Yeah, good to see you.
Finally, what the hell?
I know, it's been a while, yeah. How are you guys doing? You guys have relocated to a location that you have disclosed, so I guess we can kind of talk about it. But
Sure, yeah.
I guess the way we should start, you guys have been in this game longer than anybody else I can think of. Longer than any other content creators. I know, right? We're all getting old. Could you talk a little bit?
Fine wine, Henrik.
Yeah. Of course. Or like a cheese.
Could you talk a little bit about how you started, what inspired you? Maybe give a little rundown in case anybody's unfamiliar with your content.
It's you, Henrik, because you dragged me into this.
Yeah, I dragged you into this. Okay, well, the short story is grew up in Sweden. Horrific, narcissistic, nothing means anything type of environment, socialism in the worst sense of the word, basically communism, right? But then they opened our borders and stuff, and the country started transforming. But I wanted to basically I was so sick and fed up with the narcissism and with the nothing means anything. There's
Nihilism.
no purpose. Nihilism is a better word, actually. Yeah, no purpose to anything, basically. So I jumped into the deep end of a completely different pool, which was who are we, what are we doing here, and where are we going? That was basically like the three main questions I wanted to have somewhat answered. And so talking about all kinds of stuff, all of the wall, off the wall stuff, on the wall stuff, whatever. And then eventually kind of slowly began to find some information regarding the elites in Sweden of basically, they're not trying to make things better. They're actually trying to intentionally make it worse. And then it got worse by finding out that they're actually trying to replace the Swedish population. And then you go even bigger, you realize they're doing it in Europe. You go even bigger than that, you realize America, Australia, like everywhere it's happening, right? So that's when we got into the track a little bit more on just kind of in its basic theme, nationalism versus globalism. There's so many other things you can name it as, but kind of that trend, basically looking at what the elites are doing, the globalists, if you prefer that term, what their plans are and stuff. And yeah, we've been going since I started in 2006, and we met in 2009.
Yeah. So I came on board 2009. And I said, hey, let's do some Red Ice TV, and it was very different in the early days, right?
Yeah.
You dragged me in 2012 to start doing the podcast and stuff. But I remember we were living in Sweden for a while, and then we came over to America, actually Charleston, South Carolina. And we were studying just messages in films and subversive programming, if you will, like mind control techniques and stuff, and entertainment and commercials and stuff. And we started noticing this one big trend. Hey, they really hate white people in America all of a sudden. So then that just took us down that rabbit hole, if you will, of people getting into, talking about important things that relate to white people today and the attack against us.
That's really interesting. I think people need to keep that in mind when they look at the brand of Red Ice, because I think all that people know from the outside, especially people on the left, is this element of racial awareness. But it's really fascinating that is not how it started, really, for any of us. I did not care about being white until I started being told that I'm bad for being white. Right. And so all of our genesis, it's just the discovery of this. And I think that's a fascinating characteristic of Red Ice, based on your terrible reputation.
People come to where we are today based on they come from different avenues, So we like to take a holistic picture. We think politics matters, the social aspects matter, even diet matters. There's a holistic picture of all the different ways that we're being attacked. And I think that, Henrik, through the years, you've kind of pinpointed a lot of them. And now we found the last biggest major one, which is...
But it's all converging, though. I mean, it's kind of becoming the same thing, and especially now with COVID, that's a health issue. The elites are pushing all this on us. They're trying to keep us sick and dumbed down and manipulated, controlled. They try to replace us. Like, it's all and I don't think you can escape if you're, which we were. I mean, we're always like truth seekers, right? It kind of maybe it's not cringe, but whatever. Like, go where the truth leads, and genuinely try to find answers to why things suck, right? Why are things so incredibly awful in a way, and it just gets worse and worse the harder these politicians and elites try. And if you're honest about it with yourself, I think you will begin seeing these trends of what's happening. And the biggest taboo now, it's less so today than it was when we started veering into some of the anti-white kind of covering that, the anti-whiteness out there in almost at 2013 or 14, I think we kind of veered into some of that.
14, 15, we started
something
going.
like that, yeah. So maybe it's a little less controversial now. More people are talking about it. Even the broader, kind of conservative movement are to a certain aspect kind of naming that at least occasionally. But yeah, if you're honest, I think everyone can see what's happening here. It's like you have to either be really dumb or really disingenuous if you try to deny what's happening.
Yeah,
you guys were able to persevere on YouTube for much longer than I anticipated. You were going to make it. You guys really hung in there for a long time. So what was it that finally got you banned? You're still on Twitter. And of course you have your members only website, but what took out your YouTube channel?
Well, really, we were on a hit list by the ADL. So there was 10 channels and we were one of them. But I think what happened was we were experiencing massive growth, and we had videos that would have to get 1 million views there towards the end. Right. So we were reaching a lot of people. And I think that was really irritating people who don't want the truth to come out, right? Because they've been picking off one by one the bigger channels, the effective channels, And it really wasn't, Henrik, until 2016 when we really started ramping up videos on YouTube. So it was basically like 3 years of kicking ass and getting banned everywhere. It all happened within like a 3-year period. So,
but you're still reaching tons and tons of people. I'm interested, especially with Europeans. I know Laura Towler, that she got her bank account banned, and some similar things have happened to you guys. And this is a very dangerous aspect of being what is perceived to be on the dissident right, that they can take away your money, that they can freeze you out so that you can't move freely. If you could just talk a little bit about how leftist institutions have been able to affect your livelihoods and kind of prevent your day-to-day movement. I think that would be really helpful for the audience, because this really is coming for all of us.
Yeah, do you want to take the bank story, Lana?
Yeah,
maybe?
So what happened was, it's kind of happened like the dominoes have fallen. So after we got banned from YouTube, that wasn't enough, right? After we got banned from Facebook, that wasn't enough. Then it's like, okay, we need to go after their finances, their banks, their credit card processors. What happened was we were at the time with a big bank, Wells Fargo. No one should be with that. You should be with smaller credit unions. Anyway, so they got a call, probably also from the ADL, because I learned that they sit on boards on a lot of these big banks, by the way, as consultants. And so
shut it down call.
And then we got put on this list that was a reputational risk. We didn't break any laws. We didn't do anything wrong. Everything's been up and up. But from there, it dominoed into us being on this list where we've basically been blackballed. We are blackballed from credit card processing. We literally cannot take credit cards for our business. And it even affected my clothing line at the time. They even shut down a credit card I had and a bank account I had for that, a personal account. It wasn't even related to Red Ice. So then we learned that, okay, this is personal. But what we learned is that you think, oh, there's thousands of credit card processors. No, on the back end, there's only like one from all of them. So that blacklists you from basically like the entire Western world processing if you want to do business in America, and even one of the biggest clearinghouses, and they have like 80% of the market. We got letters from high up, and I was like, okay, this is starting to get real. And then there's apps of Venmo, there's PayPal. You can't use this fundraising. You can't use that, to the point where it's affected our daily life of just like tradesmen. Oh, can you pay me on Venmo or PayPal? That's how I do. How do you explain that you can't use these apps? You know what I mean? Like
the speeches, which never happened there. But yeah, I think after that, there was like they did some purge on Pinterest. There was a big launch on Pinterest. But, oh well.
So that's when it gets real. They want to. They're trying. It's Operation Choke Point, right? They're trying to get in the way of our supporters from financially being able to support us so that we can continue our work. It's simple as that. They're trying to support us so that we can continue our work.
Yeah, I think I was counting. PayPal, I think, was the first one, right? And then it was Zelle and Venmo, Braintree, which is like kind of what is that, like a back end?
It's another that's also
kind
bought by PayPal.
And that's right, they bought that. That's why.
Even
Skrill,
Coinbase, iTunes, all kinds of.
I was just thinking about the financial, things. We need to kick you off of our bank, and then Ironically, Wells Fargo has got red-handed, like creating accounts in people's names and stuff like that, like completely like unscrupulous. And now they're, I guess, they're shutting people down too that they don't like. But we contacted a government agency regarding that. It was kind of funny because apparently they're like obligated to, right? We're not, again, as you said, not having broken any laws or anything like that, right? But they can't say that because that, I think, would be grounds for a potential lawsuit, I believe.
Discriminatory practices, right?
If we were non-white, if we were gay, if we were any of those other things, we'd be a protected class. But because we're white and we don't hate ourselves, basically, we're the worst thought criminals of all. We're worse than these criminals that are in prison right now. That's how they treat you anyway, you know?
Oh, man. We're having some buffer. Respect that YouTube is slowing the stream down a little bit. This has not happened with any of my other interviews. So keep me posted, live chat. We're just going to keep going and hopefully it'll start working again. But keep going, guys. Sorry to interrupt you.
I'll check on my end, see if there's anything. Yeah, I mean, I think, what else was it I was thinking about regarding that? Yeah, I mean, the only thing they have, it's a desperate move, I think. And of course, we've seen a lot of other people too now joining that, right? Lauren Witzke from Wells Fargo, Torba, right? Yab's Torba, he's lost multiple bank accounts. And
Visa and Visa MasterCard have blacklisted him. I mean, that's getting really real right there.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you do when Visa MasterCard deem you, they unperson you, and you literally cannot be in the system to have a bank account? Everything you do nowadays is electronic.
Yep.
Yeah, but the government's on his ass for taxes, right? But then
right,
nowhere where they can go for help, or a business owner. There is nowhere to go. I mean, this is the Soviet
the free
Weimar.
Market will have a solution.
Yeah, make your own bank, guys.
Does arise, the whole system comes and clamps down on them and shuts them down. You know,
yeah.
So you know, this is communist here. I mean, this is it. It's happening.
So how can people skirt this? I mean, you've done a really good job of doing what you can to continue fundraising. So as this continues to happen to people on the dissident right, what can they do to protect their finances and to kind of continue living a normal life to the best extent of their abilities?
I'd say just to diversify, spread as thin into as multiple different avenues as you can, both maybe banking wise, but get off of the big banks too, because they're unscrupulous and they do anything they want. And we shouldn't support them anyway. Look, I mean, it's a system which is, I don't know, I'm trying to see the positive thing in this, and I guess to a certain extent is I think sooner or later this is going to happen to anybody that says anything that the system or again, we've seen that now with, like, you know, COVID misinformation, right? People are losing their YouTube channels over that, or they're trying to argue that, oh, this is medical information. This is causing real life harm by you know, questioning a bit more of what this experimental mRNA technology does, or something like that, right? And that's enough for them to boot you off, basically. And so I think it's going to be much more broadened in terms of who it's happening to. So in one way, I think it's forcing a lot of people, and hopefully in a weird kind of way, the more are suffering under that, I think the more people are going to start thinking about solutions and basically setting up something that's outside of the system. Like, if the system doesn't want us there and purges us, which is like, okay, fine, part of me doesn't want to be part of that system anyway. Maybe it's good that it's happening at a time when things are actually operational still, and you can actually get something, you can set something up, as opposed to waiting until the last minute until the system in and of itself grinds to a halt, and then there's no option for anybody, right?
Yeah, just kind of trusting the gods at this point, and letting that spirit lead. And I feel like that spirit has taken us down this other road that's living outside of the system, and then so be it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there will be enough of us that we can all have commerce with one another, and then have these self-sustaining infrastructures just based in the right wing. And so I'm looking forward to that. It seems like a lot of people know what's going on. But I do want to continue to bring people over to the dissident right, even though we're facing these really difficult consequences for the things that we say. So what would you say to someone right now who's interested in becoming a public figure on the dissident right, that is a private citizen right now? Has it been worth it for you guys? Do you regret it?
Yeah, no,
no, I don't regret it.
No, it's
you can't possibly
what's
predict.
The saying again? Even a worm which is being crushed under the weight of someone's boot turns up against it and squirms in opposition to it, although it's outnumbered. And I don't think we're our situation isn't even that bad, right? To that extent, not yet anyway. I think the system is so afraid, and it's panicking, and it's spurring out, it's freaking out. And that's a time when it kind of becomes dangerous in a way too, because now it's looking for someone to blame. And it's like it only has itself to blame. They did this, not us. We haven't been holding the power here, right? It's up to them. But so part of me feels kind of stand back and just watch this, like they kind of disintegrate of their own accord to a certain extent. But then at the same time, there's strategic, punctual things that you can do to kind of take stabs at the system or point out its
commenting as it's falling,
and
what's making
showing
it
people
fall, showing the
happening.
cracks and the weak spots. Yeah, and I really think if someone is starting out now and they think, okay, I'll self-censor myself. I've seen that doesn't work anymore.
Why bother at this point? They'll take you out for the most benign statements. It's like, say what you think.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even have to be about politics or racial things or whatever. It could just be you disagree with their science. Now,
I'm saying a conspiracy theorist is now a terrorist, basically, to these people. They're insane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They've gone insane. But speaking out, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that too much. In regards to it could be, I would say this, that in some aspects, it could be better for people to stay at least for now where they are at. If they presumably have a good job or something, they pays well, they can be they don't have to be on the front lines. They can be kind of behind the scenes, but actually support people that do. And that way they have a foot in the system versus those that have kind of already been purged in a way. Sometimes, so to speak, it can actually be good to be in the closet to a certain extent, because you can help, and you can, Rebecca, you're talking about like basically an economy, right, of sorts outside of this kind of system, and those individuals, they can be, taken from that system and support the people that they think do good work and stuff like that. So
that's definitely true. As far as the existing infrastructure, especially technological infrastructure, do you think there's any point in trying to infiltrate things like YouTube, Google, anything like that, and change from within, or is that a totally lost cause?
YouTube, it's going to be like MSNBC here in the next couple of years, probably.
But if we can have people that, and again, I mean, to their credit, the Project Veritas stuff, like we know, many of us already know this stuff, but to actually have it documented, and hopefully some normies will come across that. If we can do, I think we should try as many different strategies as possible, and of course you have to pick your battles, because you can't fight, on every front all the time. But if people can go into some of these institutions and pull out information or material or something that shows actually what they're doing, I still think that's a good way, because that also helps to wake people up. So if people are in a position to do that and they feel like doing it, I say go for it, do it. Let's hit them where it hurts and show them exactly what these people are up to.
That's interesting. So you still think that there's a value or hope for converting the normie? Because I've thrown in the towel on that. I'm like, if coronavirus didn't get you and all this coronavirus BS didn't get you and the city's burning down because of BLM, I'm like, you're a lost cause. I don't care. I'm not trying to convert anybody anymore. So it's good to hear you. Do you think the same thing, Lana?
Yeah, well, what I've encountered, though, is just going out and about and just talking to normies. There's two kinds. They'll never get it. They're always idiots. Their heads will always be in the sand. And then there's other kind who's becoming more curious. They don't know about shows like yours. They don't know about all these cool websites where they can get all this information and other people that have this other point of view that they can learn about. And you just plant a couple seeds and they're just like, boom, it just blooms, I notice, I feel like the time is seeds and they're just like, boom, it just blooms, I feel like the time is ripe for that with all the political climate and all the crazy shit that's going on. And I think that's why they're so desperate to ban all these voices everywhere and control it. It spreads like crazy. People know the truth when they hear it. It sets them free. They get all excited about it. So I try and talk to normies everywhere I go and drop little seeds and things. And I find, I know we're in Idaho, so it's maybe a little different, but people are very receptive. But I found that in Virginia too. Just because we don't hear from them doesn't mean they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Virginia, in the countryside, there are lots of people that work in the trades and have their average jobs, and they're not online, they're not on Twitter, but they know stuff. They're just quiet. They're just out there.
What do you do to drop the seeds? What do you say?
It depends on what kind of conversation you're talking about and where it's coming from. But I mean, it could be different things, different times. I could be talking about the white the attack on white people, or BLM, or you have to meet them where they're at.
Exactly. You said what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You have to find the whatever point they're at, or whatever area, or tiny little thing that they are very interested in or dedicated about. Usually, there's something, a way in where you can say, well,
there's always a door.
This continues, you lose that, or that's going to seize, or they're attacking that, or there's always one way in, and I think less is more if people want to engage with, especially with the normies, but less is more. Don't just flood all this information and look at this, and
that's true.
Control, one tiny thing at a time, and that I think is more effectful. It doesn't. Yeah. But then you can't, as you said too, Rebecca, you can't just spend your time over and over and over again try to convert people which don't even, the lights are on, but no one is home. There's no point, right?
It's just going to waste time. You can see it in their eyes. Like, there's we've talked about, there's like two types of humans right now. The one that's kind of degrading into this, I don't know, what do you call it? Grunt. Yeah, exactly. A grunt race. And then this other one that's more put together and smart and more evolved and getting in touch with the ways of our ancestors and something more new and powerful on top of it. Like, you can see it in people's eyes.
That's true. That's true. Difference. And one thing the left has been right. I think that generally they mischaracterize us across the board. However, one thing that they're correct about is this convoluted pathway to radicalization. And so if I'm trying to get somebody's foot in the door, I will straight up send them to Tim Pool, because Tim Pool is the first stepping stone to the Daily Stormer. And I'm like, all right, let's just get them. I mean, this is how I ended up here. I was listening to Gavin McInnes and Milo, and then
YouTube knows that. See,
and YouTube knows it. That's why the algorithm is always sending me to Jordan Peterson these days. I'm like, you're not ever going to take me back there, you guys. It's not going to happen. But I do think that if you can get somebody into the folds through humor or something a little bit softer, that they will come to their own conclusions eventually, because seeing the truth is in our nature. I really believe that we all want to seek the truth. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit. Henrik is Swedish and Alana's American. You guys have a very interesting perspective on the shared issues in Western nations. I've had a lot of European guests on and a lot of American guests and some Canadian, but none that have this joint perspective. So what do you think are the shared issues that Europeans and Americans are dealing with that we can come together and deal with together as Western people?
Oh boy, a lot actually. I mean, I think it's unfortunately also because of globalization, a lot of issues have kind of become the same in a way. Just a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought that any of the talking about white people in a general way or something that it would work on Europeans in a way, and to some it still doesn't, but to others it does. Like all this, critical race theory bullshit, for example, that is something that's like, finding whiteness is the problem and the root of everything, and like a lot of politicians in Europe are on the left are picking up these kinds of talking points, and they're like driven by the American media, they're driven by the American education or academia and stuff like that. And it's becoming more and more centralized in a way. And I think even just a few years ago, the language barriers were a little bit more rough, but now it's homogenizing, which I hate to see. I don't want to see that. But at the same time, then it's kind of forcing us to realize that we're in the same boat. We might not lump our all together, but that's how they see us, right? They're seeing us just as a one big
They don't see
enemy,
you Swedish
basically.
and German and Slavic and whatever. They're just, you're white people bad. That's
basically, yeah, it's dumb. The lowest common denominator in that sense. Nothing wrong with that, of course, obviously, but for a while, I think it wouldn't have worked on Swedes, for example. But now we hear some of our politicians up there talking about the whiteness norm and things like that. And I was like, really, this is just talking points straight out of Columbia University cultural marketing, stuff, which shows you just how Central America is to it, not Central America, but how central the U.S. is to this kind of conversation, and that they are on the forefront of driving this narrative. But I think we're in the same boat, to just make it simple. They're seeing us as a problem, and we have a common problem all over the West of trying to rid ourselves of these elites that, again, to its most simplest form, want to replace us. They want us gone, and they're, for some reason, they're seeing us as a problem to the new wonderful world that they're building. And I think they're thinking to be able to control things better, to basically make it as simple as possible, because I think controlling things on a global scale, that's very difficult, especially when you have different cultures, you have different nuances, you have different languages, different temperaments, completely different cultural values that work. And again, that's of course true even just in Europe alone. But if you can distill that down or boil it down to its most kind of simplistic form, and you can have an individual which is the same, homogenized in a sense, right? It's much easier to control them. It's just a couple of variables that you have to kind of alter and change versus this very complex picture of understanding different, cultural nuances and ethnic, differences to a certain extent, language and stuff like that. So,
but it's such a larger group that they've attacked. So perhaps that has been an error in their judgment, that they have caused all of these people from truly disparate cultures. The idea that whiteness is some homogenous thing is so preposterous. In America, the Irish and the Italians couldn't get along for like a century, and now we're importing people from Africa and stuff. It's like, what is everybody doing?
Don't you know the Irish aren't white?
Yeah, really.
People didn't think the Irish were white back then either.
But maybe we could seize on this this large group of people from disparate cultures that they have labeled widely as white, and then kind of come together to fight this.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, and it's because it's not just happening in one country. And think of it this way too. Let's assume that one European country does break off or something, radical. I mean, look at how they're just attacking Hungary or, Bulgaria most recently. Now even the guys in Georgia that were taking down the LGBT flag here.
Oh, that was so funny.
It was great. Very inspiring. But anyway, now they're going to be a problem. What's happening in Georgia? We have to invade there with like NATO forces or troops or something, right? You can't have one European nation kind of turning its back against the globalist elite. It must kind of happen in every place at the same time to a certain extent.
Yeah. But they're playing whack-a-mole. I mean, they can't possibly contain this in any meaningful way. No. We're everywhere. We're all over the world. So what's the plan here? I talk a lot in my recent interviews. I've talked to all of my guests about some practical ways that we can move forward. You guys seem like you're a lot more optimistic than some of the previous interviews I've had. So,
really?
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody kind of has this attitude when I had Devin Stack on and when I had Morgoth on, and I am also subject to this black pilling myself, but like we should just kind of put our heads down and if we can keep the Western flame alight, and otherwise just try to protect our families to the best of our abilities. But that's really all that we can do. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions. Is community building the solution to this, or is it a temporary solution? How do you envision the future of the West being sustained?
Well, I'd say I think we have to be extremely dynamic and
flexible.
Adaptability is one of the most important properties that we need to have, and also not assume that, well, we're going to have this or we're going to restore that or something like that. Like and that will be, and it's not that we should let go of that and not aspire to that, but we have to be realistic about what's achievable and how to achieve the goal of just making sure that we can still cling on and be a part of this to a certain extent, especially now when the system is turning against us. My idea has always been, let them make the moves, so the people out there can see that it's just generally like the system, this thing that want us gone, that it is the one that's irrational, it's lashing out, it's overplaying its hand, it's way too aggressive, way too spurgy, and hopefully that's also part of then people to a certain extent waking up. They're saying, what the hell what is this about? Like, and at the same time, I wish we weren't in a position where we had to take also what's kind of a defensive position, but we don't even have a people yet. How we're going, we don't, in many countries, we're losing our nations, right? We're losing territory to a lot of newcomers. Neo-colonialists are coming in and occupying our areas and territories. And for a while, we might have to get used to the idea that this might not be in our hands, in the same way that the Visigothic Empire in Spain had to pull far back up into the north, and it took them 700 years to get their country back, but then finally kicked out the people that had done this to them 700 years later. Maybe some of our countries will have to be in a position like that. We don't really know.
We have to be able to adapt. It's hard to know, and there's always wrenches that get thrown in their plan and unpredictable things that happen in life. I have learned you make a plan or you think it's going to go a certain way, and then this whole other avenue that you had no idea about introduces itself. And I expect that kind of thing to be moving forward. I think that we're in a communism 2.0. Communism never lasts. Like you said, it always lashes out and freaks out, and people are like, whoa. One thing people want is they want to be free. They will always fight to be free, and they will fight to the end to be free. And I think we have been through waves of, like what you're saying, Henrik, waves of our populations ebbing and flowing, and wars and country lines changing. And I don't think it's going to be any different. I think we're going into some choppy waters, and we're going to have to do some incredible surfing, but it's far from over. And I don't like when people just, it's all over, it's done.
Well, I think if you assume that things are going to remain the same, or again, just speaking of the territory in and of itself, or even, let's say, our demographic position that we're in right now, if you think that this is what we have now is what we're always going to have, then I think, then I would be black-pilled as well, because I think we're going to lose some of that. But we have to be ready to do that. You have to, if you're in a situation where you can't salvage some of those things, you just have to pull back. And I think, as you said before, Rebecca, too, that's why, community building, get together with as many people as possible, because we don't know what's going to happen here. We could see a collapse. We could see supply chain shutdown. We could see a problem that with food shortage here in the next couple of years. All
crazy environmental stuff that's going to happen.
Climate lockdowns. We could see again the true consequences of some of the decisions that they've done now with the mRNA technology. Let's say we don't know what direction this could go in, right? And it could go in any direction. And so we have to be ready for basically for anything, which is an incredibly difficult thing to be. Because you don't know. But again, the more people you have locally in your area that that you can rely on, people to help out, everybody in that position is going to be better off.
You can't do it alone. You can't just be like, I'm going to be a homesteader tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. You have to get your foot in there a little bit, do a little bit at a time. You have other friends that do stuff. You help each other out. Like that's how it has to be moving forward. You have to connect with friends, family, kind of be in an area, help each other out. And I also think become as self-sufficient as possible, start thinking in terms of that. And as you say, Henrik, too, having food, having supplies, things to be able to last for a few months in case things get, really desperate and weird. We have to be ready for anything is what I feel. And also kind of, I know we've been able to just buy anything we want and live these lifestyles of getting anything we want, and
they're cutting
these
back
big
on
houses and these not. We're gonna have to think in terms of slimming down and lowering
necessity.
Thinking in terms of just necessity, and that's a big deal for a lot of Americans who've been able to get whatever they want whenever they want.
Oh, well, we've been so spoiled. I think that your position of stoicism and adaptability is really important, and I encourage people to develop that if they can, because the mentality, the hardiness of your mentality is going to be your greatest asset in future times. When you're right, we are going to hit some choppy waters. And also something that the left really lacks is this historical perspective, seeing our ancestral thread as just one small part of a much, much longer story. They don't seem to think like that. They have a lot of short-term impulsive thinkers on their side. And so I think that so long as we can view this as a continuation of the past and, as building for the future, that we'll be in a better place mentally to deal with what's coming. And I also encourage people to think about, look at the last year, the last 2 years, as quickly, it was remarkably accelerated. Even I wasn't expecting coronavirus. This all came out of left field, but as quickly as things veer towards acceleration, the pendulum can swing back just as quickly. And it's possible that in 5 years, we've totally regained the cultural narrative because the left has gone too far. One thing that they are terrible at is practicing restraint. I mean, everybody was talking on the Christian right was talking about how with gay marriage, people are going to be marrying this slippery slope argument come to fruition. I mean, this tranny initiative is the dumbest, most it's just retarded. I can't believe what I'm seeing. and they're consistently playing their hands just badly, just that they're pushing things too far, and
You can
even the
tell that.
average. Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
maybe they'll continue to push it too far, and the average American, even, boomer conservatives, will be like, I'm out on this one.
I think there is sometimes we misdiagnose what it is we're looking at here, or what they want to achieve, and we think we still think from our perspective that, oh, they want to build their utopia, or something like that. And sure, I mean that includes getting rid of us and stuff like that. But I see them in the system currently, which is the minds of all these elites. You could have really capitalistic oriented predators at the top of these big companies, these transnational corporations, but they still have a mind which is like rotted, have rotted from the leftism that they're subject to in a way. But their job is to just break things down, destroy. It's not about building anything. I mean, I think some of them probably think that, but I see them as a force of nature almost. It's because good people have just stood back and not stopped this, that we're, to a certain extent, we deserve this, right? I mean, collectively. It's not saying it's all our fault or whatever. We have a very cunning, enemy as well that's working against us. But we deserve the leaders, for example, that we get. We haven't stopped this in time. We've just receded ground continuously, and now here we are. And I just see that, okay, well, as Nietzsche said in a way, like if you see something falling, we'll push it, and that's kind of where we are. I at the same time, I don't think you have to do anything. I think, and I'm not urging passivity or like not engaging, but I think the system has gone so far that it will just, it doesn't know when to stop, right? It's going to ruin itself. It's going to not make it through. It could take 20 years. It could take 2 more years. We don't know. But it's not going to last. It's not going to work.
And it's part of a larger cycle. I even talk about this in Omrin, of the cycle of death and rebirth. And it just seems that we're caught in this cycle that just keeps happening throughout history. And here we are again. And America's coming up on 250 years.
250 years. Yes, it's like the lifespan of most nations and civilizations.
Exactly. Basically. So I just feel like it's inevitable for some reason. We can't break out of this cycle, and it just keeps happening. This forces of basically globalism and nationalism when it comes down to it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I think that there is some poetic justice in that the left has created an enemy fit for competition with them. I mean, we're better on the back foot. And Trump kind of gave this resurgence of hope to all of us, but really he was not what we expected. But we all have been dissidents for so many years that I feel more comfortable in this position where I'm being attacked because I know it and I understand how to act. Even if I got power right now, I kind of would be like, I don't know what to do.
What we do, right? No, I get that exactly. And in a way, right, you also have to. Obviously, we're not there yet. Far from it. As I said, we don't even have we've barely patched our people back together again. So, so we're not in that position yet. But you do also you have to dream. You have to know what you want. You have to have a vision of sorts, right? And especially if things are beginning to crumble and fall apart, it's even more advantageous to be in a position where you can say, well, I know what we're going to do. I know what is going to work and how we're going to survive, and more people will be attracted to that. In a way, you have to lead by example, and I think a lot of people actually kind of in that transition right now. Okay, we've identified the problems. We keep going over and over, and there's still a good, that's still a good tactic, at least as far as I'm concerned, in terms of there's still people out there that are wondering what the hell is happening. Why is everything turning upside down? And you can attract those people, and hopefully that's good quality people. But also transition over to building community, actually figuring out what to do. What do we do now if things actually collapse, and try to just think in a survival type of
and really just spearheading. That's how I feel like all of us are a part of right now, or Becky, too, as spearheading a model that can work, that we can share with other people, because there's other people around the world, around the West, around different parts of the country. We'd say, oh, everyone come to Northern Idaho. I wish, and a lot of people are. But there's some people that are attached to the South. There are some people that will never leave the North. But I see that there are different pockets where people are kind of settling and going to, and I think that's just naturally happening. There's a population movement. So it's not, I guess, white flight, right? Well, we're guilty when we do that, and we're guilty when we stay and we make things.
Yeah.
Whatever we do, we can't win.
Whatever. But now it's getting, I mean, that's why we decided to just be open about where we are and connect with people more and stuff, because I think that that's the time that we're coming in, that it's going to be important to do that, to have real in life communities, and it's been communities, the left says. And it's important to have those relationships moving forward. And we're fortunate because we're out there. We get to connect with a lot of people. We help people connect and all of that too. I mean, so I'm lucky for that. And you too, right?
Yeah. So what do you see as the future for people like us, for people on the dissident right, especially people that have been canceled in whatever way? I like this attitude that you have, that we should be focused on building, not destroying. That's the left's game. So what do you see that we can build here in America, in Europe, if that's possible? What should people do to community build?
Yeah, one of the first things too, I think, which you can do to piss them off, all the people that are trying to cancel you and stuff, is to live well to a certain extent as well, and don't let it get to you. Don't be dragged down. That's what they want. They want to demoralize you and drag you down and think it's not possible and stuff. And again, it's kind of that
you to quit.
Sun Tzu tactic. Like, if you can defeat your enemies without even never entering battle, of course, that they'd prefer that method overall. I think we've seen some of that. People going in that direction, and I see it from even other types of communities and groups like that as well. Even like people like Ice Age Farmer, to mention one Christian. We've had him on the show a while ago. Like he sees what's happening, he sees what's going on. He's trying to form community as well. He's sharing information. He's sharing stuff on like, how do we, if the inevitable comes, or if we're in a period of where everything will be upset, we have to try to kind of persevere and make it to a certain extent, right? And so, but we don't know. That's the hard thing, right? I think that one of the most important things you can do is just to be mentally prepared. I think you'll have an advantage over other people. To a certain extent, expect the unexpected, and if you if you can have a mental space where you realize that like anything could be thrown at us at this point, right? Any kind of gay op or any kind of new pandemic or something, or again this cyber polygon thing which they're involved in at the World Economic Forum now. They're talking about like an attack on the infrastructure, or potentially shutting down the electrical grid and stuff like that. Like if they move ahead with stuff like that, and this prolongs for weeks on end, like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to they're going to die. I mean, because of this
too. Yes.
Right. I mean, where are we? We're like, what, a couple of days away from like food riots and people, at least especially in the cities, people start eating each other within like a week or something. That's how crazy it is, right? And so in a way, I feel we have to kind of like separate ourselves from if you can, get out of the cities.
Yeah, getting out of the cities is the big thing. Try to steadily, slowly become self-sufficient. Simplify your life. Make it get your bills down as little as possible if you can. And just to have some supplies. Be ready in case different things happen, just so that you can stay alive and stay afloat if things do get real.
Right. And having a few exit strategies for anywhere that you live, I think is probably a good idea. So you guys would have a lot of places to go. Presumably, I don't know if you can move freely in the Schengen zone anymore. Probably not.
Well, the EU is doing their vaccine passport thing now.
Bad.
I don't even know what the full implications of that is. I don't know if I don't even know if I could go to Sweden, and I'm not. I want to, of course, find out. But I'm just waiting for this to in a way blow over, right? But I don't know if it will. There's new variants they're pushing now, or
like, is it ever going to go away? Is it forever?
I don't know.
Have a vaccine?
Yeah, maybe they won't.
When does this expire already?
Never. I mean, it's going to be the Delta variant, and then something after that, and then something after that.
Delta. There's all these new ones now, and then new vaccines and new, the whole thing. And I just think these people are doing this just they are up to no good. I think some of them they know what they're doing here, and it's not just it's not solely an overreaction to a problem which really isn't a problem. I think there's much more than that going on. But I just to go back, I think I was one thing I was thinking about when you asked the earlier question, and there's one group in Sweden. There's many in Sweden, frankly, but one group has done a really good thing. It's called the Free Sweden. They've gone together and formed a kind of I guess in its simplistic term, it's a kind of a clubhouse. There's more events there at the building, but they've gone together. A bunch of people. They bought property where people can come, where they're welcome. They have memberships in this group. People just hang out. They get to know each other. They build networks. They have other types of cultural events there and things like that. that's something I'd love to see. It's always hard when you're like, you need a name on a group or a symbol and like things like that. It's always kind of hard, but there could be other methods, other ways where you can just have it more just normal people, normal families that want to get together, they see what's happening, but they want to hang out with other their kids, to hang out with other parents' kids and things like that, get together. And it doesn't have to be too political. It can just kind of be a shared understanding of the times that we live in.
No, I mean, we're seeing trends of that. I saw that in the South too. There was a group of friends who bought land together, and then they all built their houses there to have their own little community. And that's becoming more and more popular. You see families doing that, friends and relatives doing that. And I think that is a really good model going ahead, because then all your neighbors right there are your friends or your family and people that you can always count on. I think that's excellent.
And that will make it that will make it easy when the US military want to drop their bombs as well. I'm just joking.
Well, they don't have to know. They don't have to know. I mean, you can't stop friends for
I'm
all
just joking.
have
But it's
to
like
buy
it's
land
funny.
together.
Let's centralize. No, I mean, it's good that it's centralized to a certain extent, but how can you live like that, right? Again, if internet is cut off, or again the electricity, you'll be stranded and you don't even know what's going on, right?
Right.
So you have to have people in proximity.
Yeah, we can't do things alone anymore, and I think that's part of the condition of Europeans, especially Americans. Do it all yourself, rugged individualism, and all this that we were taught.
Yeah.
And then you learn, oh wait, I don't know how to do a million different things, and I need friends. My grandma always said, you don't need $1 million, you need a million friends. And I've seen that true in my life too. Different ways that we all help each other out with our talents and abilities and resources.
Oh, of course, yeah. And even taking a step back, having children, and I'm seeing this attitude on the right a lot, which is very disconcerting. I get messages from people like, why would you bring a child on the right? Why would you bring a child into this world? I'm like, listen, we have to do it for our posterity. We have to have children right now, even if every fiber in your being is telling you not to. It is your obligation. And I think that is really important messaging. And I know Sweden has birth rate issues too. I used to love this YouTuber, Yona Yinton, and she does this calling and and she sings to her cows, and she's so beautiful, and she lives in a town of 10 people in northern Sweden in the house that her great grandfather built. And then a few months ago, she puts out a video and she's like, I wish people would stop telling me to have children. It's not their business. I don't want. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why did you even bother leaving the cities if you weren't going to do this?
What are you doing it all for then?
Yeah, it's just, it's so frustrating. And so I think changing that mentality, because it's a huge problem on the right too, in America, that we have to have kids. And before you have kids, you have to build a strong relationship with a man or a woman that you love. And so in many ways, I think the community building is going to assist that and hopefully encourage. I've made some couples.
you know how it is. Like when you're around somebody who has a lot of kids, it's more inspiring. And then their friends have kids, and you get together, and it's like, wow, this is a blast. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Usually the people that are like, oh, I can't bring a kid into this world, it's because they haven't had one yet. And then when they have one, they shut up because they realize how amazing and how fulfilling it is. And it's the whole reason really for being is passing this on to the next generation. And
I don't want to be too hard on those people though, because I also do understand. And like, I'll look at my daughter sometimes and be like, gosh, the world you're inheriting. There's a sorrow in my heart for the world that I'm handing to my daughter. And
every generation feels that though. I mean, I got hit with that.
Not every generation.
For a long time, I thought, oh God, I got hit with that programming too. Oh, the world is bleak and it's dark, and you shouldn't bring in a child into this world and all that. That got me for a long time too,
Yeah, that's true.
There's never going to be a good time. And that also needs to serve as our inspiration to make the world a better place, or at least our community, our environment for them. It all begins with the family unit, and then look, our ancestors did this stuff for thousands of years.
Oh my God, American pioneers, half of them died. Can you imagine going across the America in carriages with kids and pregnant and living off of dirt? They did it. They did it. Much tougher.
They did it. Yep. They were tougher, and this time will make us tough, and that is somewhat reassuring to me that we will end up being better people. And then I know that you and I and a lot of people on the right, we can look at our children and be like, I did what I could to try to hand you a better world than the one I was given. I mean, I appreciate you guys coming on and giving some hope to the audience, because I have had kind of a string of some dark interviews. And so it's nice to hear a little white pill from both of you.
And you know what? We have our ups and downs. Some days
Mhm.
you feel, I mean, I think that goes across the board for anyone. Some days you feel down and, oh my God, this
Yeah.
world. And then sometimes you just need a little sleep, or you need to go camping. You just need to recharge
Or be with friends.
be with friends, and then you get passionate again, and then you want to fight again. That's just the way of the warrior and the hero's journey. It's going to be just all these ups and downs, but the hero never just gives up. It's easy to just give up and say, that's it.
It is.
That's the easy way.
Yeah,
That's
you have
definitely
to learn to love being part of the fight, and feeling that it's part of something greater too. Like, you know, the incentive or the reasoning why I started the show way back when on a bunch of different topics was because to a certain extent I was bored with the world that I knew and that I'd grown up in and stuff like that. Look, if you want to do something that's meaningful and partake in something, this battle is where it's at. Like that, it's the front. Like they would, if we come through this, they'll write about this period in the history books, and we're going to sit on the sidelines and mope and think we're never going to do anything. We're going to get in the fight and do something about it, right? Yeah. And we have to find that that energy, that source, and we have to find some fighting spirit and push back against this. And again, do what we can. It doesn't matter if we think we're going to lose or whatever. And of course, you will be much better off if you believe that you have the, whatever you want to call it, God on your side, the God's nature. If you have,
I know we do.
You know, of course, morality on your side. These things, you'll always be in a better position when you have that. But at the same time, that doesn't matter, because we know we're doing the right thing.
And I really believe that we are. So you heard it here. Conjure that fighting spirit by having children, having lots of children.
One of them. Oh yeah, it's a big one.
So if you want to tell the audience where they can find you, the few places that they can still find Red Eyes, that'd be great.
It's still here. It didn't go away. That's what drives me nuts. Oh, you got banned from YouTube. Oh, it's all over. Red Eyes disappeared.
No, you built your website so that you could last beyond your life on YouTube.
Of course. Yes. Yeah. Redeyes.tv, that's really the best place. We have all the links and stuff there, but we're on Odyssey, we're on BitChute, we're on VK, we upload to Rumble now. You can watch our streams on Twitter. You can watch our videos on redeyes.tv or redeyesmembers.com, the members website, if people want to get in there, get some extra material and support us that way too. But it's really, really simple. Telegram, join our Telegram
that's
channel.
fun.
We upload the video content there now too, so people can watch it there. So.
Does really well on Telegram.
Yeah, it's very well.
Yeah. Yep. So you guys sound like you're pretty well diversified in the media sphere. So that's really great. So check out their websites and become a member at Red Eyes. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Pleasure.
See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.